Hello Internet, my name is the Golden Stalfos, and today we're talking about the nature of criticism, specifically YouTube criticism. Um, so I just watched a video that was just uploaded by Lindsay Ellis about the Titanic. And for anyone who doesn't know, one, how'd you find my channel before hers? That's impressive. And two, Lindsay Ellis is a video essayist who makes really compelling and interesting YouTube videos about topics that I would never even think to make a video about. And that's why it's important that I watch her content, because, like, you need diverse viewpoints in order to be, like, smart. And by the way, for anyone who's wondering, I am not a video essayist because I don't write essays to turn them into videos. I just talk about a thing that I feel like talking about. Like, I could turn these into essays, like formally lay out, oh, this is the point, these are the supporting elements, this is the conclusion, blah, blah, blah. But that takes so much time and effort and, like, actual talent. I don't have any of that. I'm just a guy with a microphone. I don't even have a real microphone. I have a snowball for my streams, and I record these YouTube videos on my phone using my phone microphone. Because this is amateur hour right here. But anyway, at the end of her video, she makes a point about the nature of criticism and, like, whether it's, good to shit on things or not. It's rather interesting that she put that in a video about Titanic, because I've never really heard anything bad about the Titanic. I mean, I don't really care for it. It's just a movie. But like, the worst criticism I've ever heard of the movie is just that one episode of Rick and Morty where they show Jerry being obsessed with the film, and then they're all like, whatever, it's not worth being obsessed over. Which I agree with. I mean, I basically feel that way about most things, though. But this isn't exactly a new point, but it is, like, something that's always been on my mind, and seeing her video made me want to talk about it, so I figure I'd do a shout out at the beginning. Not that it matters, because no one is watching my channel yet, but still. So it's long been asserted, and it's very much true, that most critical analysis, most reviews, most popular shows that talk about other shows are very, very mean and derogatory, and talk about how bad a thing is. Because that's what's popular. And it'll always be popular, And I mean, I haven't been making videos, like, officially for that long, but I have been watching YouTube for a long time, and yeah, being overly critical is good for revenue. Lots of people do it, and it's funny and interesting, I mean, like, I watch CinemaSins for exactly that reason. They don't have any, like, scathing, important, deep messages about films or the film industry. They just, point out the things they don't like and then laugh about it and then move on. And it's funny. And I watch it. And some people, hate that. Some people hate it so much that they've dedicated videos or channels, like, there's entire channels dedicated to fighting against the evil that is cinema sins. Like, shut up. It's just dumb entertainment. Who gives a shit? Um, like, there's another channel called Cinema Wins where, like, they're clearly just made to be the antithesis. They do all the videos in the exact same format, and they title everything the same way, but they replace everything wrong with everything great about. And it's so, like, adorably childish to, like, see a channel that is successful and be like, you shouldn't be successful for that. I'll prove you wrong by doing the exact opposite, but also copying your format completely. I mean, their videos aren't terrible. I don't find them as funny, though. So, yeah. Says something about it, doesn't it? I think it's harder to write jokes about things that are happy, you know? I mean, there's that famous line of, you know, tragedy is when I stub my toe and comedy is when you get brutally murdered. But, like, you know, in the actual quote, he goes into great detail about how someone gets brutally murdered because it's funnier the more specific it is. And I think that's true. Like, to a large extent, there is a sense of cathartic joy that comes from, you know, other people's pain, from knowing that it's happening to someone who is not us, someone we don't care about. And I think this is doubly true when it comes to things that don't matter, right? Like, no one really actually truly gives a shit about a film, right? Like, it's entertainment. You watch it, you enjoy it, you move on with your fucking life. You know, sometimes there are films that have, like, you know, memorable moments or memorable lines or memorable characters, and so they stick around in your mind for a while. But 99% of the films you watch, you just take it in, poop it out, you know? You only remember it when someone reminds you of it explicitly. And even then you're just like, oh yeah, that's a thing, isn't it? You know, like the Blue Avatar People film. Like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Like, no one thinks about that movie. It doesn't fucking matter. No one cares. But because no one cares, right? Because you don't give a shit about it, hearing someone shit all over it is funny, you know? I mean, when something awful happens to a fiction, like, it's not even a person, it's not even a thing. It doesn't matter if someone shits all over it. Who cares? It's hilarious. You know? And sometimes the whole criticism of, well, this is bad, comes from an actual place of trying to make people understand that we want better stuff. You know, like, when people get angry about the ending of Game of Thrones or the abomination that is the new Star Wars trilogy, they're not doing it to be funny. They're doing it because they don't want shit like this to stick around forever, right? So those are two big reasons why negative criticism exists, right? One, it's easier to write jokes for, and two, sometimes it's really easy to point to an example of what you don't want, because, you know, sometimes describing what you do want is a lot more difficult and nuanced and takes more than 10 minutes, you know? And that's okay, right? Like, it's okay to do that sometimes. and I do that a lot, right? Like a lot of my videos, like for anyone who doesn't know, my channel is very new, but I have like a shit ton of backlog. So I've got a lot of videos that are going to come out at some point. Um, but the thing is, like, a lot of them, I'm very critical and very mean to the thing I'm criticizing. Mostly for comedic effect, sometimes out of genuine just frustration that this thing exists in this form and I have to live with it. But I don't think that's a problem per se. Like, yes, we should, be willing to say, hey, this is the thing we love. This is why we love it. These are the elements that make it great. Please do more of this. But it's also very fair to point to the opposite. I don't think you can really have valid criticism without doing both, right? Like you have to be able to both highlight the things you want and the things you don't want in order to create a complete picture of what your ideal, entertainment world looks like. And, realistically, as a critic, that's what you're doing. You're advertising for, and advocating for a specific landscape of entertainment. You want shows that make you feel this way. You want shows that make you think about these things. You want shows that, do the thing that you enjoy most. And you don't want the ones that go in the opposite, right? Or the ones that fail in their execution or whatever. And I mean, yeah. See, this is why most people write scripts, so they don't have any dead air and freezes like this. But I can't read from a script because I'm a loser, and this is the best you're gonna get. So my point is that it's okay to have derogatory, humorous content that exists to draw in the masses and point and laugh at the thing that is bad. But it's also, kind of essential to do the opposite and highlight the things that you love and want more of and why. And I don't think you always have to frame that like with a justification of some sort, like you don't have to say, no, actually, it is good. You're not allowed to be mad at me for this. Because like people can like whatever they want. And it's also worth noting that quality doesn't always track with any other metrics, right? Like sometimes we measure stuff by, oh, how much money did it make, or how many people watched it, or, how many good reviews it got on Metacritic or whatever. But like none of those things are true indicators of quality. They frequently track with quality, but not always. And sometimes it's just a simple fact that people, that what people want and what people like take in isn't necessarily like what's best for them. And it isn't necessarily like what's best for people in general, right? Like when it comes to media, we frequently take in and gobble up the things that are like not very well thought out big explosion movies because it's fun to watch, whatever. But that doesn't mean that big explosion movies are like good for film as a medium or good for society as, our basis of entertainment. Like that's just something we enjoy. But, if you are a critic trying to advocate for film as, an art form, as a way to, provide entertainment and education to millions of people, then you don't want to advocate for the big dumb explosion movies. You want to say that they're dumb and shouldn't exist, and we need, the things that are more intelligent. And that's fine, right? Like there's a place for that discussion of whether or not media should be enjoyed, as an experience that we take in and then forget about, or as like a lasting part of our life and culture. And I think it's possible for something to be both, or one to some and one to others. But I also think it's possible that like, we can have things that are artless and bad for us and not like objectively high quality and still say, I liked that. It was fine. It was fun. It was enjoyable. It was, whatever. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing to like something that isn't like objectively as good as it could be, Millions of people love Harry Potter, and those books aren't very well written. I mean, like that's my biggest thing. I didn't even read Harry Potter as a kid. It was just like a thing that existed and everyone else was reading it, and I was like, I've got like 300 other book series to work my way through, so I'm good for now. I read a lot as a kid, but I didn't really read mainstream stuff all that much. Like I hopped onto the Percy Jackson train like after the second Heroes of Olympus book was already out. Like I was in high school at the time. Like I just didn't care about things that were popular because when you hear about something all the time, it stops feeling like it could be a novel experience because you've heard about it so much. Plus, those things had movies, and I watched the movies. But as an adult, I was finally convinced to go read the books, and they weren't that good. Like, she doesn't know how to write in the past tense, and the entire series takes place in the past tense. There's so little character description or environment description. The magic system is pathetic. Everything is just Latin, just straight Latin with nothing else going on. Um, you know, like there's so many things. The naming system. Oh my god. Like in the first book, she goes on for like pages about Harry Potter having messy, crazy, unruly hair that's magically incapable of being straightened in any way, and then basically never mentions it again. But it's so clear that that was like a founding element of who this character is, and the reason he's named Harry Potter is because he has unruly black hair, which is just so pathetic. Severus Snape well, there's a school. One of the houses is represented by a snake. We need a teacher who's very severe, angry, and serious. So he'll be Severus Snape. Like, Jesus Christ. And it goes down the row like that for a while. So, yeah, I can't look at this as anything but mediocre writing. You know, and if that isn't enough to convince you, then one, read her Twitter, because Jesus Christ, look at how she destroys the world building. And two, she has another book that she published under a pseudonym after Harry Potter, and the best review it got was not bad for a first attempt, which is pretty fucking devastating if it's your 8th book. So yeah. But, you know, that doesn't mean Harry Potter is bad, right? Like it's objectively poorly written, and the only reason you remember it so well is because you were too young to recognize how poorly written it was, and you filled in the gaps with your headcanon over the years, and now all you remember when you remember the book is your headcanon and fanfics, which are not indicative of the actual book. But you do still have those other experiences surrounding the book. And those experiences are still valuable to you. And it's not like it's bad that you enjoy the thing that gave you all of these other good experiences. But, you know, as critics, or as people who, like, care about good writing, we have, like, sort of an obligation to point that out. You know, like, it's okay if you still like it. I still like it, but you have to recognize where it comes short and where it could have been better, right? You know, because then the next time an author wants to take something like this and build on it, they can build it up so much better because they've seen all the critiques, you know, and we won't just get 100 lazy knockoffs that don't even really try. Yeah, that. By the way, there's another book which everyone kind of dismissed as like a Harry Potter clone, but I think it actually came first, which is called Charlie Bone, and it's kind of the same premise. Like, there's a school and there's magic, but it's not presented in the same way at all. And I think it's a much more well written, like a much better constructed story. I don't know. I only read the first one, but I remembered liking it quite a bit. I don't know why I didn't go on to the second one. I think it wasn't at the library, and so I just moved on to another series and then never went back to it. It's life, unfortunately. But yeah, my point is just that it's possible and sometimes necessary to make measurements of quality that are separate from measurements of joy. And it's possible for something to be technically good, you know, well made, well constructed, all the pieces are there, but it's not compelling. It doesn't hit you in any meaningful way. It's just, you know, like the aforementioned Avatar film, or, you know, like there are hundreds of movies that are good. You know, they've got good lighting, good shot composition, good writing, good acting, good set design and costume design and casting, and everything is good. But the film doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter to anyone. It's just a film. and you move on. um, and that's just how it is, you know? And sometimes, and sometimes it goes the other way, right? Like sometimes there's a story that, you know, maybe it has some good things, but many other things just, ugh. And yet it's still like great, like truly great. Like The Princess Bride. Now, I mean, to fans, that may sound blasphemous. I mean, this is like an absolute all-star cast putting up some of their best performances, and you know, a very true to form novel, based on a novel that was very popular and good. um so what could be bad about it? Well, the fact that you can see the strings holding up Andre the Giant, and you can see the cardboard paint, the painted cardboard that is the rocks, and look at this rat, and I mean, like, you know, that's just how it looks, and it will always look like that, and it will never be remade because some things are sacred. Uh, but the fact that it is held back in these ways, the fact that it looks like fried ass, doesn't hurt the film, and it doesn't make it bad. Um, it's clearly like the best version we could ever get. And it is a truly great film experience. And you will go to your grave quoting that film if you have ever watched it. There's just no way you won't walk out of it with at least a couple of quotes. But being quotable isn't necessarily the mark of a good film. Like, plenty of Schwarzenegger movies are very quotable, including the bad ones. You know? And, people frequently quote, monsters of history. Like, there's lots of Hitler quotes floating out there that people recite for some reason. So being quotable isn't like the end-all be-all of something. But my point is just that when someone makes a criticism of a piece of media, that doesn't necessarily mean that piece of media is worthless or that you're wrong for enjoying it or anything like that. It just means that there's an area where it can improve, where someone else could have taken it higher if there was more collaboration or more budget or more technology or whatever. And I think it's kind of important to recognize that there is value to that, because at some point there will be someone who has those extra resources, who has that extra talent, that extra time, that extra money, that extra whatever, to make a new version of this idea even better. And there's nothing like wrong with that, like it's very possible to, take an idea and endlessly recycle it without ever adding anything, and you just get shittier and shittier knockoffs, like every Frankenstein movie or every Dracula movie. But it's also possible to take those ideas, and elevate them and put a new perspective on them and make people think about them in a new way, it all really comes down to what you are capable of and what you want to do, and also what you know, right? And only through like examination of previous works do we learn what needs to be known for future works, right? Like, you learn more about what not to do when you fail than you learn about what to do when you succeed, right? And having someone on the outside looking in pointing out those failures can be useful to, like, well, one, to any other outside observers who want to make their own stuff, and two, it can be useful to the person who is too close to the project and doesn't see these flaws, because to them they aren't even flaws, because obviously the closer you are to the project, the more you know about it, but also just as obviously, the more your opinion of it is different from the opinion of people who aren't as well versed with it as you are. And their understanding of it matters if they are going to be your audience. So, you may have to change things or recontextualize things or, whatever, in order to make it fit for your audience. And for someone who didn't get that insight before it was released, or who, wants to go on and make something that will have more acclaim, more recognition, more adoption from fans, then you need an outsider to say, hey, this is how it looked to us. And so I think criticism is very valuable to the creative process. I don't think I could be as creative as I am if it wasn't also for the way I am so critical of other things. And that's not just because one of the things I create is critical videos, but because, understanding where other things have gone wrong or gone right has helped me understand what kind of stuff I want to make and how. And I think that is valuable. And I think that other people could also benefit from hearing how I've grown in that regard, because, everyone has a different perspective on life. Everyone has experienced different things in life. And you wouldn't know what I know unless you listen to me say it. And I wouldn't know what you know unless I listened to you say it. And so I think that when we make content like this, when we share our opinions and our analysis and our criticisms across the internet, we sort of help bring a better understanding of ourselves, as well as a better understanding of the works we're discussing, and a better understanding of, the general concept of creating good things to put into the world. And so I don't think it's wrong to make videos that are overly critical. And honestly, I don't think anyone who makes critical videos has ever tried to advocate that making, predominantly negative criticisms is a bad thing. But I do think a lot of our audiences have. Like, there's always some people underneath videos being like, why are you always so negative? Why don't you talk about the things you like? And I mean, I try to nip that in the butt by actively making videos about the things I like alongside videos about the things that I hate. But the short answer is there's just as much, if not more, value in talking about the things that you hate. And, there's nothing wrong with it. So that is my long-winded way of saying, that this channel, like every other channel, will talk a lot about the things that I hate and the things that I love. And that's okay. It's probably even a good thing. And, people shouldn't get super upset because other people are upset. Like, that's crazy. Like, it just is. Like, getting bent out of shape because CinemaSins isn't good movie criticism. Well, okay, they're not trying to be, whatever. But getting bent out of shape and doing, like, huge, long analysis videos where you watch through, dozens of hours of their content so you can pick it apart the way they pick apart your beloved films. It's just like, bruh, you totally missed the point. This isn't even criticism. It's just comedy. Enjoy it and move on. But then on the other side, right, like, sometimes people get mad when you say you like something. Like, I like Dragon Ball. It's very poorly written. I love it. It's my favorite anime. It's good. I like it. But I know that there will be some people who turn up their nose at that, and there will definitely be some people who, like, look down on me for having that opinion because I should like, the more obscure stuff or the more meaningful stuff or whatever. And, like, I promise you, I've seen that stuff. Dragon Ball's still my favorite. Okay? Like, yes, there is value in all of the other things you're gonna throw up, but, like, that doesn't make them better. And like 99% of the shows that people will say are better than Dragon Ball, you're right. They're more well written. They've got more going on. You're right. But that doesn't make them any more appealing to me. That doesn't make them any more fun to watch, like, sometimes a show with, like, the most important message and the deepest point is just, like, sad and dark and, explores the horrors of the human mind and all that. And, like, yeah, that has value and it's well done and everything, but I'm not going to sit down and watch that to have fun in my free time. I'll see that once or twice to soak in the message, and then I'll leave it, because once you have the message, you don't need to watch it again. And if I can't watch it all the time, then it's not my favorite thing to watch. But I mean, that is literally the tip of the iceberg with that argument, and I'm being as non-specific as possible. But my point is just that, like, there will be people in the anime community who look down on me because I like Dragon Ball. There will be people in the anime community who look down on me because I like dubbed anime. And no, I don't think that your subtitles add anything, because It's not the 80s anymore. We have good dubbing now. It's okay. I'm sorry. But watching it in a language you understand makes the show more valuable to you on a personal level because you understand it better. You know? But some people will be really upset by that. Some people will try to trash the very concept of watching a show in the language that you speak, because what kind of crazy person wants their entertainment to be intelligible to them? But you know, and some people will even say that it's, like because of some character default in me, right? Like, oh, you don't like subs because you can't read, you idiot. And like, no, I can read. I watch plenty of subbed things. I read manga. Sometimes I have other shit going on, 99% of the time when I'm watching anime, I'm sitting on my couch working on something or playing a game or eating food or hanging out with my girlfriend, and like, I don't need to be laser focused on the subtitles all the time. I want to be able to watch things casually when I don't need to focus on that, I want to be able to watch something and walk into the room to grab a snack and not like have to pause or rewind or anything because I couldn't hear what was happening, so I don't know what's up, and I think there's, but that's not the point of this video. The point that I was trying to get to is just that it's weird to look down on someone for what they like. It's weird that I had to provide any justification for those things, right? Like, there should be no justification for, well, if I'm sitting down to watch a show for entertainment, I want to be entertained in a way that I understand. I shouldn't have to justify that. But some people take it upon themselves to be like gatekeepers, I guess, and to say that anyone who doesn't enjoy this thing the way I enjoy it is wrong, and or that if you enjoy something that I don't like, then you're wrong and you're dumb, and that's clearly, the only reason someone could like something I don't is because they're dumb. It couldn't possibly just be because we're different people from different backgrounds and have different priorities in our entertainment, like, ugh. But there's nothing we can do about that. Some people are just going to be dicks no matter what. And the only thing you can really do is ignore them or block their comments. I don't know. But, because people who want to go out of their way to be dicks to you because you have an opinion, they're just going to do that, right? They're just going to do that no matter what you say or do in response. So just fuck them. Move on with your life. Keep going. Keep loving the things you love. Keep hating the things you hate. And let the people who disagree with you make their own videos and have their own opinions and build their own audience that shares their worldview, right? Like, whatever. Internet's a big place. There's more than enough room for all 8 billion of us. So, yeah. Oh, by the way, because I mentioned there being enough room for all the people in the world, there's going to be some asshole in the comments who's like, what? We're overpopulated. Kill all the such and such because I'm a racist dumbass. or whatever. But we're not overpopulated. We have poor resource management. I've also got a video about that at some point, but short answer is no. We're not. But anyway, yeah, that's the video. That's my thoughts on the matter. And also my chance to plug a channel. Like, she doesn't need a plug. She has so many more people watching her than I do. But because I'm pretty sure at this point I still have 0 channel views. But also, who gives a shit, right? Like, I'm just doing this for me at this point, honestly. And one of the things I care about is making sure that people who do make good stuff get recognition for making good stuff. Even if it's recognition from a single nameless loser who no one watches. So, yeah. Lindsay Ellis does video essays, and you can watch her channel, and it's good. And I mean, if somehow this is like your first entree into video essays, there's a whole ton of good ones out there. There's a whole slew of channels that do video essays, and most of them are about like critical analysis on writing in popular fiction. But some of them go into detail about other things like politics and religion and basically, all kinds of stuff. So I highly advise you to dig into that. There's a ton of great ones. I'll probably put some recommendations in the comment or in the description. But anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next life. Laters. Okay, end card time. I'm supposed to tell you to like, comment, subscribe, all that stupid YouTube shit. There's a bell thingy, whatever. I have all the social media stuff: Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Mostly I use Facebook and Twitter to tell you about my Twitch and YouTube uploads. I've got a Patreon, but Patreon is one of those things where people who can afford to throw away money give money to people who can't. And so if you can't afford to throw away money, then you shouldn't be doing that. And if you can afford to throw away money, consider charities. There's a pandemic, there's global warming, there's millions of people in the world who don't have toilets, which is just awful. So I've linked a few charities in the description down below in case you're interested in that. And if you can't donate money to a charity, consider donating some of your time, because that's also very useful. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.